Tommy Chong is in this episode of The Cole Memo. I am your host, Cole Preston. Every episode of The Cole Memo is released in audio, video, and transcript format. To find the transcript, audio, or video version of any episode, please refer to the description of that episode. Within that description, you can find a link that will take you to our website, which will display the transcript for the episode and the platforms where you can find the episode in audio or video formats. If you're unable to locate the episode description on whichever platform you're listening from, simply note the episode number and visit thecolememo.com. From there, you can find the corresponding episode, and then you'll be able to access the audio, video, or transcript version of that episode. You might also find any links that we reference during the episode so that you might be able to do your own research. If you're not listening to this episode of the Cole Memo on Patreon, then you're listening to this episode later than our patrons. To become a patron, go to thecolememo.com/Patreon. Once again, that's thecolememo.com/Patreon. It's a great way to support our show. One of the best ways to support our show is absolutely free. Subscribe to or follow our show. Leave us a positive review from wherever you're listening to us from. Favorite this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, or post a review. Your engagement and support is appreciated. Enjoy this episode of The Cole Memo. Today is November 4th, 2023, and this interview was captured on October 19th, 2023. Enjoy. I like that you just started with "I be here." Tommy Chong, welcome back. How's it going?
Good. Excellent, man. Excellent.
Hell yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, the last time you joined my Zoom, you showed up as Thomas Chong. And I have to imagine that at some points in your life, you might pop up on another list of a list for somebody else, Thomas Chong. And I wonder, you come in and they're like, "I thought it was you." Does that ever happen to you? Like where somebody, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably. I can't remember any specific
I was
moments.
I was about to ask if your but usually you have a pretty close relationship with your doctor, so your doctor's not going to be like, "Oh my God, I thought it was you." But yeah,
Actually, I got my age now, they whatever I'm doing, they just say, keep doing it. You're okay. They don't want to mess with the formula, whatever it is. They don't want to know about it, but then they don't want me to stop doing what I'm doing. And it's okay. It's cool, man. I was supposed to go in the doctor today to get some shot to help my energy, but I just couldn't get the energy up to go down there.
They need to give you a shot to get you that shot.
Yeah, I need a shot to get a shot. Yeah.
That's funny. Well,
that's good.
I've been reading, I always like to Google your name before I chat with you to see what's going on. And, everybody's seen the Cheech and Chong gummies ads. So you got that going on now, right?
Oh,
Cheech
yeah, big time. And they're good. The best endorsement was my wife, because, she's like a lot of wives, they're opposite whatever we're doing, they're the opposite. And, but she was having trouble sleeping, and she started using the gummies, and whew, and now she's kind of she depends upon them. I won't say addicted, because she would not be addicted to anything other than making me contradicting whatever I have to say.
No, but that's cool to hear. You need something that's dependable. Like I depend on my migraine medication, which sometimes is cannabis, but sometimes
Sure.
it's, it's an Excedrin, and I depend on that. Um,
Yes, as it works.
yeah.
That's the main thing. but my, as you get older, you learn to shut up more. The trouble with the gummies is that they give you motor mouth. You know, I
Remove
mean,
your filter.
yeah. Next thing I know, I'm boring the shit out of strangers.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm at that age. There's an age where you feel that everybody's on your wavelength. You know, and so there's a lot of things you'll see things, and you make eye contact with someone, and you're sort of like, oh, I know what they're thinking. And it's sort of like I guess it's a narcissistic kind of thing, where you feel the whole world is revolving around you and how you think. That's
Yeah.
why I really understand Trump. I could see, thinking about Trump, my son took me off Twitter because I was getting in too many arguments with these
Yeah, I saw
Trumpies.
some of those.
Yeah, and and rightly so, because when you express yourself like publicly like that, it's like uh, dog should attract flies. And that's
Yep.
what happens. That's what happens. Next thing you know, you're conversing with these idiots that you would never converse with normally. And so when my son took me off Twitter, I said, at first, I thought, what's going on here? I'm old enough to know what I want to do. And then I realized I'm past that age. I'm at that age now where I should be told what to do.
Right, right. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Did you take your medication? Yeah. Is your fly zipped up? Did you comb your hair today?
If you go to like the general store, they're like, "Dad, do you need me to drive for you?"
Yeah. Oh man, I love that part. I love being driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I
I
mean, you've
do.
lived the rock star life for a while, but being driven around is the rock star life. That's
Oh, it's so nice. Because then I can keep doing my favorite thing, which is getting high and trying to
that's
figure out where I left my phone. I'll be talking to my phone, wondering, "Oh shit, where'd I put my phone?" And it's in my hand. That kind
uh-huh.
of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
No,
be looking
no.
around for my phone with my phone's flashlight going, "Hey, where's my phone at?" You
So
know?
I'm not the only guy.
No, no, it's not your
Okay.
age. It might be the similarities and how much cannabis we consume, but I don't
It
know.
could be. It could be that. Yeah, I was like that when I was a kid too. Coming up, I was. The teacher once described me as a daydreamer. You know, because I'd be sitting there in class, and all of a sudden my mind just drifted somewhere else, and I missed the lesson. And part of my schooling that was kind of screwed up was I didn't find out I was nearsighted. Needing glasses until I was probably 11, 12,
Oh,
13,
damn. Yeah.
around there. And the hint was that when I would write stuff down from the blackboard, I'd have to get out of my seat, walk up to the front, read it, write it down, and then go back to my seat. And nobody, teachers, nobody ever said, "Oh, you need glasses." I think it was what was oh, I guess it was my brother. He got them first, and then when he got, then I copy whatever he got. But we grew up very poor, so it was almost like anything like that you needed to depend on the welfare, or get some freebies in there somewhere. My dad was a great finder of free stuff, you know
Yeah. It's a
just
skill.
Yeah, it's Chinese, and this is what you did. I think Cheech grew up like that too. You depended upon like at Christmas time, be the firemen or some organization puts a Christmas show together. And then everybody that attends would walk out with a bag full of very cheap, ridiculous little plastic toys. But that would be Christmas. That would be your toys. That's all you're going to get. So, but if you don't know any better, it's just normal. You know, there
Right.
was other perks that we had in the country, especially that city folks never had. But I always wanted to live in the city, living in the country, growing up in the country. Whenever it was time to go to the city, I'd get all excited,
Yeah.
and yeah, because when you live in the country, part of your life is scavenging.
Right.
You're a scavenger because you're walking home and you see something that someone threw out, or abandoned or something, and whatever it is, if it wasn't too heavy, you drug it home. At least I did. And I still got those habits, man. I collect I collect all sorts of weird shit now.
Right.
But I'm enjoying it, man. I was recycling way before recycling was even thought about.
Yeah. Another thing, like well, recycling and scavenging, living in the country, I can relate to you because yeah, I always got real excited to go to town or go to the city when growing up because I'm also from the country. And so just another thing you might be familiar with, it's like you're looking through the cupboard and you may not have all the ingredients you need. So you just kind of throw something together because you don't have time to go to town, but you need to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
So you really scavenge and be resourceful. Yeah.
I think the funniest for me, like I learned how to play guitar quite young. I was about 8 years old, I guess. And the reason I learned was that we had a fiddle player across the field from us, and he used to play for parties, and we'd go there, and he had a young guy playing rhythm guitar, and I knew enough that I could do what the guy was doing, but the guy got a job or something anyway. Mel, the fiddle player, enlisted me as his backup, and so I spent from 8 till about 16 playing with the fiddle player, back up and playing like all night, dances, parties, and so I got that journeyman uh, musician thing, and it was like percussion almost, with back up, lead, what do they call it, rhythm guitar, and uh, and that then it wasn't until I was 16, 17 when I hooked up with a football player, a black guy that could sing rock and roll, introduced us all to rhythm and blues. And then that's when then I went into the blues thing, and yeah, for a guy that wasn't dedicated, I did okay, you know. But I learned a lot. It was habits that you learn. Like I watched a show about Mulholland. You know who Mulholland is?
Uh-uh.
He was the guy that brought water to Los Angeles
Okay.
with a viaduct,
Hmm.
and it was groundbreaking and all this stuff. And he diverted a river that was running through an Indian land, and he diverted to Los Angeles. And so he caused a lot of enemies, but not with anybody important. So I was watching him, and this guy became a multi-zillionaire, because he figured out all that. And then they went into his education, and it was funny. He was Irish, Mulholland, and he went to school long enough to learn how to write, especially write his name. And then he dropped out of school because they're too poor. And he was a ditch digger when he came up with a plan to do a viaduct from uh, from one state to the next through the mountains and everything. It was 1,200 miles, some ridiculous thing, but he did it, and it changed Los Angeles. It created Los Angeles. But the fact that this guy was totally uneducated and he became a zillionaire through his own range, is big inspiration to me because I could not get through high school. I made it when I got to grade 10, it just got too hard. I just couldn't. You know, being a rhythm guitar player, there wasn't a lot of room for algebra.
Right. I think it's maybe not that it was too hard. It's that, again, like you just said, you didn't have enough time,
Yeah,
right?
or
You were
reason,
focused
a
on other
reason.
things. Yes, a
Well,
reason.
if it had a connection with music, a guitar or something like that, there,
Sure.
because I did learn, a lot of music theory, which is basically algebra. Everything
Hmm.
is mathematical,
Right.
but to do it under pressure, okay, let's test what you know, da 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 da, and I would just because I'm such a daydreamer,
Hmm.
you know, I couldn't, and that was what made Cheech and I so compatible was that we were the opposites. Cheech could remember, and he was like a Jeopardy champion because a celebrity champ that beat what's his name, the newscaster,
I'll look it up right now.
the little gay newscaster. What's his name? Andrew Cooper,
Oh,
Anderson
Anderson
Cooper.
Cooper. Yep.
Yeah, Cheech beat him head to
Yeah.
head
It
in
says headline:
Jeopardy.
Anderson Cooper recalls getting, quote, destroyed by Cheech Marine on Jeopardy.
Yeah, well, Cheech has got this phenomenal memory, and like I found out that Bob Dylan had the same kind of memory. That's why Dylan became so incredibly gifted, because he could hear a song one time and then know it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so something you said, just bringing myself back to my childhood, you said you've always been a daydreamer. I sometimes I get a little hard on myself when I'm like, I'll walk into a room and be like, why the fuck did I just walk in here? And then I remind myself, I've been doing that since I was a kid, so it's nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, your mind is so instant.
Hmm.
You can be everywhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember being a kid, like this one time, I won't get into the details of it, but I had something that I shouldn't have had, but I hid it in such a great spot I couldn't find it. Like, and my parents were like, "Where is it?" And I was like, "I can't find it." And they're like, "Sure, you can't find it." I'm like, "I honestly can't remember." And the reason I say that is because there have been several times as a stoner before it was legal where I would like hide my stash. I'd be like, "This is such a great spot." And then I can't fucking find it because it's
And
such
then
a
you
great
can't
spot.
find it. You hit it from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, not a new problem. It's been something that's been happening to me since I was a kid before I was smoking weed. So it's not a result of the weed, I would say, you know?
No, no, no. It's yeah. It's that incredible mind that we have, and if you there's an unconscious part that you sort of got to have faith in. Like if I lose something, well, here's the classic one. I told this to my daughter, Robbie, and she laughed so hard. I was making this particular um, uh, necklace.
Hmm.
Okay, it's a piece of deer antler, and it's got a little face on it and everything. And I just lovingly carved it, with a Dremel drill, and I had a nice time, and it looked so nice, and I put a little string on it, and I put it around my neck, a nice little necklace. Then about, I guess, 5 minutes later, I'm thinking, what did I do with that carving I just carved? And I went on a look for it. It's got to be here because I just carved it. I went looking all over the place and I was laughing because I said, I just had it in my hand. It can't be far.
Right.
Where is it? And I'm looking and looking at my desk, and I thought, I didn't get out of here, did I? Well, maybe I did. So I went in the other rooms. I started checking the other rooms, couldn't find it. And I'm laughing because I just had it in my hand. And then later that night, I'm getting ready for bed, take out my hearing aids. Then I reached to untie my necklace and I started laughing because it was around my neck the whole time.
That's funny.
It was, oh man, I laughed. I laughed. I tell people about it. And the only one that doesn't really want to hear about it is my wife.
Yeah, because it's not
And
funny to her. She's been dealing with it for too
no,
long.
no, they get worried. They get worried, that dementia or whatever is
Oh, yeah.
setting it's setting in. But yeah, that was my lesson. And then I said to myself, I said, that was fun. You really enjoyed entertaining yourself. And I said, yeah, yeah. And so now I kind of talk to myself now a little bit because really, when you get a certain age, you're the only one that really wants to hear what you got to say.
That's funny. That's funny. Um, well, I wanted to ask you this question. I think I might have asked something like this in the past to a few different people, but like in most states, in the United States where cannabis is legal, you can only have like a certain amount of it, and if you have any more than that amount, it is illegal. What do you I've always been curious, what do you think about that? Like, that seems like a silly thing. I'm just
It's
curious.
it's a it's a throwback to the how lame the excuse was to make it illegal. It was medicine. The Chinese revered it as medicine for thousands of years. I think about 5,000 years. It was written in their books. The cannabis was good for menstrual cramps and also cancer, for treating cancer. This is like 5,000 years. I'm not sure how many years ago, but China always had it. India, this is how you create. In India, they created religions because of cannabis, and it's written up in the Holy Bible. The Jewish Bible, the First Testament. Where Moses talked to the burning bush.
Right.
Well, I can't think of that gave him the Ten Commandments. So it had to be cannabis. What other burning bush can you think of would inspire you to go into the spiritual, world of living? And so when prohibition ended, and by the way, prohibition itself was a racist move
Yeah.
because the Puritans didn't want those immigrants, those Italians, those French, those uh, all the those people that drank wine and spirits because the water was too unhealthy. That's why they drank wine back in the day.
Right.
That's why Johnny Appleseed went around giving apples so to seed so the farmers could plant the apples so they could have apple cider because they're all coming from Europe, and in Europe they'd just gone through the Black Plague, and they decided that it was the water that was unhealthy, and so they which it was because it wasn't treated. Back in the day, the sewers and the water supply kind of commingled, so no water was unhealthy. And so you had to boil the water or distill it like you did with the alcohol. And so when when that prohibition got overturned, The only thing they had left, they had all the FBI, they had all the cops with nothing to do. And so then Hearst decided, racist Hearst decided to demonize cannabis. It was mandated by the U.S. government that you grow hemp plants, and hemp plant is cannabis because it's a pheno plant that gives you the THC, the good bud. But it's a hemp plant. And so they not only demonized, they made it illegal, much to the chagrin of any thing. Yeah, I'll give you another tidbit. The word drugstore. Where do you think the word drugstore came from?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you. In Amsterdam,
Hmm.
where they grew hemp and cannabis and used it, all the artists, Van Gogh, all of them were heavy cannabis users,
Hmm.
which created the art. And so, what would they would do when they harvest it? They would take it to dry, and to dry in the Dutch language, it's to
Mm.
droog, to droog the plant. And so when you went to buy the plant, it would be in the drug stores. They're driving. And so drug ended up being drug, DRUG. And
Interesting.
that's where the term drugstore, and that's where you went to buy your cannabis, you see. And
Hmm.
so then Hearst, well, decided that it is a dangerous drug because Mexicans were using it, And these were guys that smoked cigars and, cigarettes, and, that was a very manly thing to do. But
Yeah.
oh no, don't do that marijuana, because it'll make you kill your family. It'll turn you into an axe killer. It'll turn you into a sex pervert. They had all this lies going. And so this is what we're still up against. There's people in jail right now for peddling cannabis,
Yeah.
and
Still to
and it
this
was
day.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's used by the law enforcement to bust people. I watch this show all the time, and they smell marijuana, so then they can uh, confiscate the car. They can do all these weird
Right.
things. Get a dog in there, lose all your personal freedoms. Which America was very, very proud of. But we have to fight for all that stuff. Because that's the ignorance is nothing new. And that's what I found out, is that ignorance comes in all colors. So
Yeah.
you got stupid people on the planet, and in fact, thanks to Trump, we have a figure on how many stupid people that there are in the world. And 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 when you have that mindset, trying to uh, make sense, trying to get some sort of legislation that satisfies the racist, you'll never do it. It'll never happen. And
Yeah.
so what we have to do is come to our senses. It'll take a while, but like Sandra Gupta, the doctor, when he
Mhm.
showed that young baby being cured of epilepsy and being able to hug its mother for the first time, that really started the legalization ball rolling. And if you remember, they elected Donald Trump and they made cannabis legal at the same time.
Yeah.
so so God's got a great sense of humor. He said, I'm going to give you Trump, but wait, or you're going to get stoned. So you won't. You'll be able to.
Yeah.
You'll be able to. You'll be able
And
to
they kept us
ride
on our
through.
toes with Jeff Sessions. And, even while weed was still legal, it kept us on our toes. You had to keep the paranoia going, right?
Oh, but to this day,
Yeah.
to this day, I mean, there's still people that have that old fashioned mindset. But I've met. Hey, listen, I met people. I got friends
Yeah.
that try to argue that the electric car is hurting the environment.
Hmm.
You believe that one? Of
Yeah,
course, these are car dealers, or
sure.
guys that are in love with their gas cars. But I,
Right.
I was at dinner with one the other day, and he says, you know, he just paid like $6.50 for a gallon of gas, and he says, I'm considering. I think he's forcing me to buy an electric car. You know, it's such a bullshit way of saying I was wrong. Electric car is the answer, but instead, he's because the gas price is so high, I'm going to have to buy an electric car.
Yeah. Well, imagine saying that about like when horses, like when we were transitioning to cars, well, a horse, yeah, it would take me 5 hours there, but if I had a car, I'd get there in 2 hours, but I'd have to pay for gas. Man, they're really trying to force me to transition to a car. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. When if you look at old pictures, back in the 30s, those old cars that ended up being hot rods and that, they were beautiful. They
Yeah.
brand new. Oh man, they look great. They're like coaches, with nice big roomy back seats and then they had those cute little coupes with the little in fact I own one, a 19 I think it was 28 Chevy or something. I bought it in Calgary. It was so cute. You could reach back and pull the top over
Mm-hmm.
and flick it. Uh, so so I understand the attraction back then of the car compared, like you said, to the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just what's going on in the world today. People bemoaning the fact. Well, the one I love is that my kid, all he does is play on his iPhone or his iPad, and they just sit around and they don't even talk to each other. They don't go outside and play. They're on their phone. They're talking to their friend. There's always these parents complaining.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, it was like you saw your parents kind of in the morning, and
Right.
then maybe before dark you got home.
Right.
And they said, well, in fact, you never said how was your day, because the parents basically did not want to hear.
Right. They had enough in their day. They don't want to hear about your day.
Well, but they don't want to know that they went or jumping off a roof, or they're
Sure.
or, or playing cops and robbers with BB guns.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember I had that childhood and I loved it. Yeah, what was the alternative?
Hmm.
Uh, we
Some
had no choice. Yeah,
Something about your childhood that I wanted to ask. I did the math,
sure.
and you were about 15, I think, in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about the time that air conditioning became a common thing. So you might just be young enough where I can't ask you that question. I know you've probably been a while since you heard that, but I was going to ask you, what's that like? Because you had to have grown up in a time where like maybe air conditioning wasn't everywhere. I know this is a weird question, but I take it for granted. Air conditioning is so fucking awesome. And you grew up in a time where it became a thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I grew up in Canada. And so the air conditioner, are you kidding? We're more
Oh,
interested
you
in
needed
getting
heat.
warm, you know.
Okay.
And if
Yeah,
you
I didn't
wanted
think
air
about that.
conditioning, you open the door and one of the window.
Right.
Yeah, that's all. Open a window. In fact, they build houses now where windows don't open.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, you open it got too hot. Open a window, crack a window, open the
Yeah.
door, leave the door open. Oh, put the screen. Oh, get the screen door. You need the screen door. Keep the bugs from coming in. You know. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if it got too hot, you just got some ice and found a river or a lake. That was the time to go to the river or the lake.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, uh, we used to go to a creek, and there was no room to really lay down and swim, and so we'd kind of make a little pool,
Yeah.
or there was a lake, but there was no beach. It was all mud, and we'd park beside and I was the one that I loved the outdoors so much. I would use all my powers to go to the lake every chance I got, and it was like 150 miles away from our house, and so it was a journey. It was
Hmm.
no big, and so we'd go to the lake and try to find a spot we could put a blanket down so mom could come in and sit, and or if we had my aunt or somebody, or a baby or something, you need a little blanket, little
Sure.
safe area. And then the boys, we'd wander into the lake, into the mud, and just get under the water a little bit, just enough. But what we did for our fun was climb trees.
Hell yeah.
And that, oh man, I used to have a scar. Everybody that climbed trees always had a scar in the middle of their chest where a branch broke and another branch got you right in the middle and
Uh-huh.
sort of give you a scar up there. That was our thing, climbing trees. And we had some beautiful trees beside the river in Calgary, a place called Okotoks. Oh man, trees were almost like 40, 50 feet high.
Oh
And
wow.
you get all up into the top. Oh man, it was dangerous and all that shit. But the thing is about falling from a tree, you usually had other branches to block or to stop you, slow you down.
Sure, but
Yeah.
still falling from it. I like how you're like, well, the thing about falling from a tree is
Oh yeah, you're going to fall.
yeah.
It's going to happen, because it's not. You don't have anybody looking at
Hmm.
you. You don't have parents. If you had parents, what the hell? You get down from there, But but yeah, it's funny. I got a little grandson, Gus. He's not so little now. He's almost about 5. He's young, but
Yeah.
anyway, he's growing up bad. But he was like me when I was a kid. He'd climb over everything. And he'd climb and crawl, and just be a little ninja.
Hmm. Hell yeah, dude.
I understood that totally. Oh, growing up, another thing I would like to do. I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably do it in a movie. But there were toy games that we played. They don't play these games anymore. Red Rover, ever heard of
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Yep.
Red Rover. You call someone over,
Uh-huh.
and then they run and try to break a line
Try to
that you're
penetrate the
holding.
line. Everybody holds their
Yeah,
arms.
on
Yeah.
the hands. Yeah, yeah. And then they had another alley over something. What was that? Where
Ollie
you
Ollie
throw a
oxen
ball.
free or something
No,
like that.
no, you throw a ball over a small building,
Okay.
and then if you caught it a few times, then you could run around quietly and try to hit somebody on the other side. And if you hit them, then they had to stay on your side.
Yeah.
And then you threw the ball back and forth over. And I think you had to do it 3 or 4 times. You got to catch it. If you miss it, it was. But those kind of games.
You want to hear a game I
Yeah.
played as a kid that didn't age well?
Mm.
It was called Smear the Queer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a football game. So whoever had the football, like you
Was it
had to hit
queer?
them. Yeah. And so you like if you didn't want to get hit, you threw it in the air and somebody else got it. And the goal was to have the football the longest and like elude everybody.
Smear the queer.
Yep. It was called we and I didn't know what that meant. Like we were just like, let's play Smear the Queer. Like we were
We
just kids. Yeah.
we never knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when my mother made us stop using that because
Hmm.
all of a sudden it was like, you get queer. It started, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, leave me alone, you queer.
Right.
And then my mother said that's not nice. Don't
Right.
don't be doing that. Don't say that. Never
Hmm.
told me why or what. You
Hmm.
know. Yeah, yeah. There was, and when we played baseball in the country school, what it was that recess come, and then everybody would run to the baseball diamond, and you tag home plate, and whoever got there first was the batter, and then the second would be the catcher, and the third was the pitcher, and the fourth, and so on. So you had a whole thing, and then when the batter, as long as he never hit a fly ball, you hit a fly ball, someone catch it, they would exchange places with you. You go back out, you go in the
Hmm.
outfield, and then the guy caught the ball would come in and at bat. But if you got on base and everything else, you could stay up there as long as you didn't, strike out or hit it. And the fun part was running to tag the base when you got out of school, and it was a game that the kids themselves sort of we never had coaches back then.
Hmm.
Every once in a while somebody's dad would show us a few things, but there was no coach, and kids organized the games and that themselves. Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, 8 years old, you were an adult practically, because you could carry wood, you could carry water, you could do chores, you could help with the laundry. You were a
You
little
could
guy.
go up to the store and buy cigarettes at that time.
Almost.
I
Oh,
mean, couldn't
oh,
you? I remember, like, yeah, my grandparents, who are, not to make you feel old, are your age, and they said
yeah.
when they were kids, they could just go up and buy cigarettes, alcohol. There wasn't really an age limit for anything.
Oh no, because you're buying it for your mom or your
Right,
dad or
right.
or your uncle. Yeah, yeah. You come in with a note and you hand it to the guy, and the guy went, "Oh, okay," and give you the Marlboros or whatever.
Yeah,
Back in the
Marlboros, a
day,
shotgun. I'm just joking.
yeah, in the country, my mother, she was just a housewife, and she would have friends come over with a a can of tobacco, players and rollers, papers, and a lighter or matches, and come over and spend the whole day rolling and smoking tobacco cigarettes. Oh, my aunt had such a tobacco habit, and she would do work and with a cigarette in her mouth
Uh-huh.
that the nicotine went up the side of her face. It was kind of discolored all up the side of her face from uh,
Just
her
having it hanging out.
squinting,
Yeah.
her squinting with a cigarette. And when my mom was in the hospital one time, she had to cook breakfast for us, and I did a comedy bit about her. She'd have a drop of moisture hanging off her nose, and she in the cigarette ash off the thing, and she'd be cooking eggs, and then right around sometimes she'd sneeze, and the ash and the drip would disappear into the eggs.
Oh my goodness.
And I have never been able to eat scrambled eggs.
Oh, since then. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude.
People, ask me, where the comedy come from? Well, we never had television, so
Hmm.
so the comedy was like everyday events. You know,
Yeah.
you just watch. There was nothing to watch, so you watch your like my aunt. I just study her.
Yeah.
She had, well, she was great. The reason she lived with us was that she was a drunk, all her life, and she was like 25% native, and so that was a really double whammy.
Yeah.
And she was a wild child, but we were the only family. See, my mother married Chinese, married my dad, and so we were like excluded from the family because of that. But we were the only family that would take in the rest of the family rejects, you know. And so my aunt, she would pull up and she would literally fall out of the cab. So drunk, she'd just open the door and fall out. And oh, Auntie Irene's here. Okay. And she'd say, "Come on, give your Auntie Irene a big kiss." And she'd be drunk and have too much lipstick on, and then she'd reach in her purse and pull up $5, and she got her kiss. I was a hooker at a very young age,
That's
and then
funny.
and then she in her drunken stupor, she went to the bar. She met this guy, Fagin was his name, and they got married. And then Fagin lived for a few years. Then he died, and then she found out that he was a war hero, and he was collecting this huge pension for being a war hero. He had
Mm.
won some kind of medal in I guess, the Second World War, I guess. Anyway, it turns out she was a widower, so she got the big check every month, and it was just her. So my dad, oh, I think Irene should come and live with us, and she did. And she was really responsible for me. She bought my first and guitar amp because we were so, from months to month living, there was no money for anything extras, there's barely money for clothes. But Auntie Irene, and her check, man, just carried us through. Yeah,
It's funny.
yeah,
Well, um, it's interesting to hear those stories. Just a different time, like you
yeah,
say. Well,
yeah.
I want to be mindful of your time. Before I go, I just wanted to ask you, I'm a huge fan of your comedy, and this is just me being biased, planting a seed. But I'm just curious, just generally, do you plan to do stand-up comedy anymore? And more specifically, the seed I wanted to plant is Joe Rogan just opened up a club, and I could just I could hear the pop when they say Tommy Chong, and people be like, well, fucking what? So just planting that seed. But again, generally asking, do you ever plan to do stand-up comedy again? Because I love your comedy.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a little thing with my son. In fact, we're going to do a podcast today,
Cool.
and oh yeah, yeah. I've got some plans. I really want to do uh, a Chong and the Family Stoned. That was a band that I had, and in fact, this coming Monday, I guess, no, Sunday, this friend of mine, he's a great singer. He was a jingle singer, and now he's doing a show at Vibrato, this club. And he asked, very polite, want to come in, sing a number with me, blah blah blah. And I realized, I've never. He's got such a beautiful voice, and I wrote a song called "Does Your Mama Know About Me?" And John, he's trying to get into movies, so he's had a few acting gigs. So I said, well, I would like for you to sing "Does Your Mama Know About Me?" And he kind of hesitated, because it's out of his comfort zone. It was more of a rhythm and blues black song, but he heard it, and he loved it. And him and his arranger, they put a nice arrangement together about the song. And but the reason I wanted him to sing it, because I wanted to use it in a movie, but I want to use it. Uh, I'm not sure. I'm still writing it, but I there's a movie coming out about Cheech and I. It's like a biopic. you know, uh, we got a documentary already coming out about our lives and everything, but then we want to go back into little specific parts of the life. And one of the parts is, me discovering, the Jackson Five, for instance. That was the story. And it was that song, Does Your Mama Know About Me, that propelled us into Motown. And so I'm having him sing it with the whole orchestra and everything else. And I was going to kind of sit in with him, sing it maybe. And then I got a book on poetry by Leonard Cohen, and I realized the song itself was a poem. And so I'm going to do the poetry first, because what I realized is that uh, the very act of music will distort any kind of lyrics to the point where you lose the meaning of the lyrics. There's a great example of What Now, My Love? Now that it's over, I feel the walls closing in on me. Well, they do it kind of Vegasy now. What now, my love? Now that it's over, hey, I feel the walls, those nasty walls closing in on me. How's your steak? Everything fine? You know, that kind of,
Right.
you know,
Flashy.
they missed the meanings of the lyrics. And so I said to John, or I told him, when I went to rehearsal, he says, do you want to? I said, I'll introduce the song. And I'll do the poetry first. Because once you start singing, you could be singing anything, saying anything. So I'm going to do the poetry. And so that's kind of, I'm going to create a show now where it encompasses everything and humor and humor. But what I want to do with the humor is use it like a spice or a sweetener. Take because humor works really good when they're not expecting it. You see, if you're expecting it, you hear someone's funny, and you go there. Oh, I want to hear him. I want to see him be funny. And if he does stuff and your expectations were too high, you're like, oh, he's not as funny as I thought he was. I wanted him to be. You see. So what you do is this is the direction I'm heading in now, is that I mix the serious with the crazy, with the funny, and so you don't know, you're not ready for it. Because a few times I've been asked, there's a really a chicken shit way that promoters and club owners and that have of getting people to perform for nothing,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do their act, and
Mhm.
that's called the awards show. You know, and we
Mhm.
want to present you with a lifetime achievement award for being a nice guy. And how much time do you think you'll be doing? We got you penciled in here for what, a half hour, maybe an hour, if you want to go, or even longer if you want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They're not paying you shit. Back in the day when I do stand up, we got paid in a nice bundle, and we sold merch, and so I'd walk away with a nice bundle of cash.
Mhm.
But now, because I'm so old and famous, and that, hey, just work for nothing. What do you say, Tom? Hey, what do you say? Yeah, come on. The kids really like you. Yeah, that bullshit. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a show. But you know what I want to do? I want to, like my wife Shelby. She gets a lot of hits. People love her. She looks so great, and she's a great inspiration for a lot of older women, and younger women too, And so I think what we're going to do. Uh, I thought, because I got some really good ideas for movies that will help civilization. You know, I think that's what we're lacking. Well, we have someone has to take advantage of the opportunity, because now with this camera, our phones and our handheld stuff, everybody's a filmmaker.
Right.
Everybody, and some of them are better than others. But all you have to do is point that camera, and if you notice, it's hard to take an uninteresting film, because film itself, even if it's garbled. Like one time I was working on a documentary, first one, Tommy Chong, what was it called? AKA Tommy Chong, was about me going to jail. And the guy that was making the documentary, we were walking home one time, and he took the camera, and he just held it down and walked and kind of swung it back and forth. And then when we got home, he showed it to me, and it was like phenomenal. was this psychedelic, kind of weird, because that's what film does. Film hangs you, it's hypnotic,
Mhm.
no matter what it is, because we're visual creatures. We can see, we can hear, we can imagine. It's our minds, and so we are living, and that's another reason why the film industry went on strike, because up until now, the actors, the writers, were basically being robbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and the money was going to whatever deal maker put the deal together, you know. And it's
Instead of
just
the people
like,
doing the work. Right.
yeah, instead of the artists themselves, they were the last ones to get paid,
Right.
you know, and they were the ones that that suffer the most, you know, the ones that actually do the work, you know, not make the deal. And so what's happening now is that the creative people are realizing our power, and we don't need these other guys, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I want to be mindful of your time. I bet you your phone's going off
yeah,
telling you to get to your next
I
thing.
just got a thing saying I got to get off.
Cool. Well, hey, Tommy, I love talking to you. Till next time, my friend.
Okay, love it, man.
Take
Take
care.
care, brother.